I spent years playing this famous slash lick completely wrong. Now, I had pretty much most of it down, but the harmonic minor build-up in Sweet Child of Mine solo just never clicked. But the worst part was, I'd see other players, not being big-headed, but not as good as me, absolutely nail it and make it look easy. It drove me mad until I realised I'd been practicing it completely wrong. Not just the notes, but the picking and the positioning. Now, I even asked you guys what you struggled with when learning this, and a lot of you said you pretty much had the same problems as me. But once I made 3 tiny little changes, and with a little bit of practice, it felt playable, and now it finally sounds and feels the way it should do. So in this video, I'm going to show you those 3 simple changes that you can make today to finally master this iconic slash moment. I'll show you the correct picking technique for those slash dynamics, how to build speed, and how to practice it the right way so that you can nail it by the end of the week. Now, being a massive slash fan for over 20 years, I've dissected his playing and figured out his technique, the scales he uses, and how he uses them. I've also discovered his secret solo formula that he uses to create memorable and musical solos. And I've helped hundreds of guitarists do the same through my How to Play Like Slash masterclass. There's a link in the description if you want to learn more. Now, I don't know about you, but I've always been so impatient when it comes to learning something when using tab. And I can't stand it, if I'm honest. Never been a fan. Most of it's wrong, as you've probably come to realise yourself. So that's why I usually learn things by ear, which is a good skill to have. But at the time when I was learning this lick, my ear hadn't developed much yet. So I got a couple of the bits down, but then I ended up just improvising the rest of it, and it sounded, well, it sounded okay, but it just wasn't the lick. Instead of doing this, I'm going to show you the exact notes and the positioning that Slash uses. So the original tempo is around 125 BPM, but we're going to slow it way down for this until we can comfortably play this. I've got the metronome set to 70 BPM. You could start a little bit slow if you like until you've memorized all the notes. But before we go any further, don't try and play or learn this all in one go. My attention span wanders when I'm looking at tab and trying to learn a long phrase. But what really helps is breaking it down into little chunks. Learn about 4 or 8 notes at a time and practice each little bite-sized chunk until you can play it with ease before moving on at that tempo. And then we're going to gradually increase the tempo. So the first phrase we're going to learn is this. To begin with, he's palm muting those first 2 notes. And he's picking both of them. We've got the slide up from the little finger, which might feel a little bit awkward at first because that finger's not used to doing slides so precisely in this way. Now, after this bit, we can group all of the notes in groups of 4s until the last bit. Now, if you played a lot of Slash solos, you're probably aware that he's more of a legato player, using hammer-ons and pull-offs more than picking. So... Now, he's not fully legato, he's not fully a picker either, but in this lick, there's more picking than we're used to. So learning this can feel a little bit clunky at first, but once you get that speed, it does start to feel right, so stick with it. So I've added these little accents above each of the notes that you should be picking. The other ones should be played legato, so pull-offs or hammer-ons. Now, the more you practice this, the more your picking hand will develop, and later on in the video, I'm going to show you how and where to add the dynamics to make it sound just like Slash. So keep learning that bit till you've got it. Then we're going to add the next 4 notes. Now this is where we get to our next issue that most people have. And I think the main reason why people struggle with this lick so much is because most people are used to soloing and improvising in a pentatonic box shape. So up and down this way, but Slash is a master at navigating the fretboard and playing across the fretboard like this. And he's able to come up with ideas anywhere on the neck. And you'll see a lot of his solos aren't just in one spot most of the time. Now, in my How to Play Like Slash course, I show you exactly how Slash comes up with those runs from one area of the fretboard to another. So whenever you do dip outside of your comfort zone, you can freely create melodies on the fly. So I highly recommend checking that out, link in the description. But playing across the fretboard like this can be tricky, especially if you've got small fingers like me. So I've tabbed out 2 different versions for you to try, and you can pick your favorite. So the first version goes like this. if you can't make that stretch and you find that picking over 2 different strings difficult, alternate version. The slide from 12 to 13. Where that's difficult is it's a little bit clunky because we're bunching our fingers up to get to the next bit. There. But dynamically, it sounds right to me. I'll play both versions for you. Then we come out of the groups of 4, we've got that little hammer-on lick, the bending lick, and then it goes into the rest of the solo. So if you really want to slash it up and add some bonus slash sauce on this, a couple of exercises you can do to help with this. So firstly, those pinky slides. Now, what we don't want to happen is this. We don't want to just slide off. We want to be precise with the notes because slash is actually accentuating those notes. Just practice going from one note to the next. And then back. And making sure both notes ring out. To make slides work like that, you've got to keep the pressure on your fingers against the frets at all time. So it's about building that strength. It's quite a dynamic solo, this. Slash is a dynamic player anyway, so he doesn't pick all the notes the same, different types of attack with his pick. Once you've got your picking down, Slash accentuates the first note of each 4-beat phrase, if that makes sense. So if it goes... Pay attention to the fingers that I'm using as well, because it's the most logical way of playing this. It's the way Slash would play it as well. Position your hand so that your thumb is at the top of the neck still. What a lot of players do when they start playing fast is bringing their thumb right to the middle of the fretboard, but you lose a lot of the strength that way, and it's not how Slash plays it. If you watch, he's always got his thumb here, pretty much. We don't want this. It also puts the fingers at different angles. So once you've learned the whole thing and you can play it comfortably at that tempo, increase the tempo by 10 beats per minute at a time and until you struggle, and then increase it by about 5 or even 2 at a time if you have to, until you can nail it at the original tempo. What some people even do is go 5 or 10 beats per minute faster than the original track, just so that when it comes to playing the original version, it's even easier. Now the thing is, you can play licks all day long, but if you don't know how to make them sound musical or make them your own or put them into a solo, you'll end up sounding like a pub guitarist and not Slash. So I highly recommend checking out the How to Play Like Slash Masterclass, Sean Connery Masterclass. using the link in the description, because I'll show you how to improvise like the master himself and put the ideas like this to use in the right way. But in the meantime, I highly recommend watching this video next, because it's going to take what you've just learned and make it 10 times more powerful. So subscribe to the channel and I will see you in the next one.